When I got to art class, I figured I should write down my list while it was still fresh in my mind. Scott Hudson's Guide to Things That Are Worse Than Gym. Number 1, drinking a half-gallon of lemonade and then taking a 6-hour ride across bumpy roads on a bus with no bathroom. Number 2, sitting on a cavalry sword that's been dipped in Tabasco sauce. Number 3, getting a big smooch from Aunt Zelda before she cleans her false teeth. Number 4, getting a big smooch from Aunt Zelda after she cleans her false teeth. Number 5, getting your head stuck in a bucket full of dead worms that's been baking in the sun for a week. We caught up with Mitch and Patrick at lunch. "You guys had gym yet?" I asked them. Patrick lifted up his gym bag from the floor. "Next period." Mitch lifted up an empty hand. "I got out of it." "Out? How?" That was like hearing he'd won the lottery. "Bad back." He rotated his shoulder, then flinched. "Yeah, right," Kyle said. Mitch grinned. "Got a letter from my doctor." I'd have loved to get out of gym, but unlike Mitch, I didn't have an uncle with a medical degree. "Wish I could get out of English," Patrick said. Kyle nodded. "You got that right." "Are you kidding? English is great," I said. "I think it's my favorite class." They stared at me like I'd just admitted I loved to eat crayons dipped in mayonnaise. "Seriously, it's my best class." "No way," Kyle said. "We spent the whole period memorizing propositions." "You mean prepositions?" I asked. Kyle shrugged. "Something like that." "Whatever you call it," Patrick said. "We got them rammed down our throats." "Wow, rammed down. You must be fed up," I said. "Ticked off, bummed out, screwed over." "Very funny," Patrick said. "Kiss off." I couldn't imagine Mr. Franca making us do that. Really, we had a great time. I told them about the Tom Swifties. "That's sort of cool," Patrick said. "You're lucky. Sounds like you got a good class." "Yeah, it's great." I thought about how small a part of my year English class was going to be, compared with what was happening at home. Patrick stared at me for a second, then said, "What's wrong?" "What do you mean?" "You look strange," he said. "Like something's going on." "Everything's fine." I guess Patrick didn't believe my lie. "Is Bobby in trouble again?" he asked. I shook my head. "Nothing that simple. My mom's having a baby." Wow, it was weird to hear myself say that. The news earned some gasps of surprise. I looked around the table. Patrick was the youngest in his family, just like me. Kyle had a sister who was 2 years younger. Mitch was the third of 4 kids, but he was only a year older than his younger brother. "Any advice?" Nothing but shrugs. Except from Kyle, who said, "Tell your mom to stay out of libraries so she doesn't have another mutant bookworm." "Thanks. I'll pass that along." I glanced over at Mitch, but he wasn't interested in birth at the moment. From what I could tell, he'd given all his attention to other aspects of biology. He was staring across the cafeteria at a girl with long brown hair. She looked like a younger version of that singer he had the hots for. "Better stop," Kyle said, "or she'll call the cops on you." Mitch turned his stare toward Kyle. "Obviously, you know nothing about girls." "And you do?" Kyle said. Mitch nodded. "She's been checking me out." "Then go talk with her," Kyle said. "I will when I'm ready." "No, you won't," Kyle said. "You're chicken." Watch and learn. Mitch got up and strolled across the cafeteria. "Oh my God," Patrick said. "He's going to do it." Kyle shook his head. "This won't be pretty. She'll shoot him right down." He formed a gun with his hands and made shooting sounds. I figured he was right. The girl was at least a sophomore. No way she'd be interested in a freshman. Still, I couldn't help rooting for Mitch. If just one of us made it out of the cave, that meant there was hope for everyone. And while I'd chew off my own tongue before admitting it out loud, he was probably the best-looking guy in our group. We all stared when Mitch started talking to the girl. We stared even harder when he sat down next to her. I felt like I was watching a nature film about the mating dances of adolescent humans. Mitch spoke. The girl nodded and smiled. Then she spoke. Lips moved, words flowed. They looked very much like two people having a conversation. Or exchanging propositions. "Let's do some Tom Swifties," I said after I got tired of watching. "Let's stick forks in our eyes," Kyle said. "That would be even more fun." "Let's stick forks," that made me think of the perfect one. "Let's stick forks in our eyes," Tom said blindingly. "And knives," Tom said cuttingly. I nodded at Patrick. "Good one. Hey, how about cafeteria food makes me gag," Tom said wretchedly. Patrick and I kept it up until the bell rang. "You guys are so hopeless," Kyle said as he dashed out. Right after I left the cafeteria, a scary-looking senior was nice enough to help me get rid of the coins that were jangling in my pocket. He was wearing a plain white t-shirt tucked into jeans and had the sort of arm muscles that couldn't possibly have been made out of anything organic. My best guess was either granite or steel. He made it sound like a voluntary act. "Got any spare change?" But the look in his eyes told me that there was only one safe answer. The last time I'd seen eyes that deadly, I'd been at the hyena cage at the zoo. I handed over my change. It was better than handing over my teeth. I was happy I'd had a chance to eat first. He actually said thanks, like I was doing him a favor. Later, I heard a couple other freshmen talking about the guy. His name was Wesley Cobble, and nearly everyone in the school was afraid of him. Somehow, I managed to stay awake through the rest of the day. Not that it made any difference in Spanish. Things were just as confusing as they'd been yesterday. "Spanish makes no sense," Scott said unknowingly, unwittingly, incomprehensibly. In history, while I was pretending to take notes, I jotted down some more Tom Swifties. A couple were so funny, I had to bite the inside of my cheek to keep from laughing. Much to my amazement, I made it through the day. I sat behind Sheldon on the ride home. It worked. The big kid smacked him and left me alone. If I could figure out some way to make life-size Sheldon Murnbauer decoys, I'd be rich. Every freshman on the planet would buy one. The minute I got home, I headed for the shower. I cranked the faucets up full blast. It felt great for about 60 seconds. Then the hot water ran out. I ran out, too. "Mom," I shouted, "there's no hot water." "Sorry," she yelled back. "I'm washing the new sheets I bought for the baby." I toweled off, grabbed my robe, and worked on my homework until the wash was done, then stepped back in the shower. The phone rang as soon as I got out. "Want to go bowling?" Kyle asked. "It's a school night," I said. "So?" "So I have homework." "So do it later." "I can't. I've got plans for later." "Like what?" "Like sleep." "You're no fun anymore." "Thanks." "Not that you were all that much fun before, either." "Thanks again." "We'll be at Devon Lanes if you change your mind." As soon as I hung up, I regretted saying I couldn't go. A couple of games wouldn't take all that long. But if I showed up now, Kyle would give me a hard time about mentioning my homework. I decided I'd better just get it over with. So once again, I sat at my desk, face to face with a wad of assignments, and instantly looked around the room for some way to avoid starting my work. September 6th. Hey, stomach virus, I have a question for you. What's the point in giving clean sheets to someone who's going to spurt all sorts of fluids from every body cavity? Give up? Yeah, me too. It would make more sense to get you a wading pool than a crib. At least then we could hose it off when it got too yucky. Look up viscous when you get a chance. If you thought I said vicious, you need to pay more attention. Vicious is how you make me feel. Viscous describes the stuff that flows from you. You're driving Mum crazy, you know. But you probably don't care since you'll have clean sheets, and I'll have cold showers. But I'm not so cold-hearted that I don't want to share what I've learned. So here's a tip. Start planning now for a way to get out of gym. It's never too early to work on your excuses. And here's today's survival rule. Don't carry loose coins in your pants. The sound attracts thugs who will tap your pocket and say, "Gimme some change." At which point you either give 'em some change or get hurt. My day wasn't all disaster. We did something totally cool in English. It's called Tom Swifties. I wrote a couple pretty good ones.
Madeline McKenzie, please come to the office. Madeline McKenzie to the office, please.
My day wasn't all disaster. We did something totally cool in English. It's called Tom Swifties. I wrote a couple pretty good ones. Here, check these out. Scott Hudson's Tom Swifties. "Who turned off the lights?" Tom said dimly. "I lost my legs right below the ankles," Tom said defeatedly. "I lost my fingers," Tom said disjointedly. "I lost my wrists," Tom said offhandedly. "I lost my elbows," Tom said disarmingly. "I lost my ribs," Tom said decidedly. "The worms are eating my organs," Tom said wholeheartedly. "I've been sliced in half," Tom said intuitively. Well, that's my list. Did you get the last one? If not, think about how in half means in two. Okay, enough for now. "Time to do my homework," Scott said slavishly. "I can't wait for Saturday," Scott said weakly. "Okay, I'll stop now," Scott said endlessly. You know what? These aren't bad. I wonder whether Julia would think they're funny. Hard to tell. Guys and girls don't always have the same sense of humor. But that's something I'll let you find out for yourself, you quivering sack of viscous fluids.